make sure to follow us on Instagram at Whistlethrowers. It's a great way to interact with our show. Our DMs are always open for questions, topic discussions, and more. You will be able to find our new episodes and other announcements there.
We're going to cut this out. No, we're not. All right, thanks for tuning back to the Whistlethrowers podcast. This is Jack Mubarak, joined by
Jack Slimmy.
And Aiden Tiksinski. And Caleb Tiksinski.
Yeah, our first three-peat guest. Welcome back.
Good to be back.
Yeah.
Both on the podcast and back in the country.
Yeah, how was that?
It was incredible. Cultural-wise, being out of the country and being somewhere else for 5 months, I mean, I was in Spain, so that was fantastic culturally. And then sports-wise, I became a much bigger rugby fan as well as a soccer fan. So watched plenty of different sports that I wouldn't have watched if I was here. So can bring some of that knowledge back as well.
Yeah. So we could preview the NBA Finals really quick, but first we should talk about Game 7 with the Miami Heat versus the Boston Celtics. So the Celtics did not show up in this game, especially Jaylen Brown, and I'm left wondering what's left for this team because they keep getting to a certain point that a lot of teams can't get to consistently, but they never get over the final hump. And do you begin to wonder if Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum Dudo is even worth expanding upon, or do you just blow it up at this point?
Yeah, I don't think blowing it up's the right option, but I do think that there's a lot of options that are available. Damian Lillard, I think, would be a great fit for the Celtics team. I think he'd bring a lot of heart and passion that I just feel like the Celtics lacked to a lot of this round of the playoffs, and even certain points in the second round as well against the Sixers. And I do think adding a point guard like that with Tatum would make this team just elevate them to a championship level. Yeah, they made it to the championship last year, but I feel like to really get to that point where you feel confident in winning a championship, you've got to get a player like that. I think that's probably the best player available that you're going to get on the market that would actually fit with the rotation that you want to have.
How would you do that, though? Because you're going to have to give up a lot for him.
I think you'd have to give him a couple first-round picks. Definitely Brown as well. I think that's your best option. But I feel like the Trailblazers are at a point where if you gave up 2 first-round picks and Brown, they'd be willing to take it.
Yeah, I mean, Damian Lillard just sounds so good for them. And Damian Lillard sounds good for a lot of teams that are in the Celtics position. Like, I think putting him on Philadelphia would make a difference. I think putting him on Milwaukee would make a difference. I think putting him in Phoenix would make a difference. I could go, the list goes on and on. That's just the kind of player Damian Lillard is. But at the same time, I'm just going to believe it when I see it. Like, I think we do this every single offseason with him. Yeah. Is like, oh, this team would be so good with Lillard. Like, and the Trailblazers have been in a position to trade Damian Lillard for like 4 years. To like, you're not close to contention, and you're also not at the bottom where you're getting a top 5 pick. And I think I said this before, that's the worst spot to be in sports in general, is that middle. You know, you either want to be terrible, so you're getting as close to number 1, or you want to be amazing, so that you are competing for a championship year in and year out. And Lillard would just do that for so many teams. He really would. And the teams that I listed alone aren't the only ones. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I just don't think he's getting traded. I just think he likes it there. And that's just the kind of guy he is. He wants to be on the team that drafted him for his whole career. Team accomplishments and team success. You know, although he strives for that and he wants that, he wants to do it in Portland. He doesn't want to hop a ship and go somewhere else. And it's respectable, but at the same time, I think he's doing a disservice to his career. But to answer your question about the Celtics, I don't think it's time to blow it up at all. This was an embarrassing Game 7 performance. Like, they fought all the way back, and just to not even put up a fight in the game, it's really like incredibly disappointing for them. But despite what happened in the one game, there's nothing to take away from Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, either of them. I mean, they're both great talents in the league. I think they're one of the best duos in the NBA. I don't think it's worth blowing up. I don't think it's worth overselling Jaylen Brown. You do have to find a middle ground with him in terms of his contract, because what he's asking for, I think it was like 5 for $296, just seems too much. I think it handcuffs your team a little bit too much. They need to find a middle ground there, but I think the Celtics need to do what they can to keep those two. And I just, like, this team was talented. I mean, I don't think that this team is incapable of beating that Miami Heat team. I think they're capable of winning a championship. They've proven that, and I don't think it's worth blowing up for them.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I was watching First Take today, and Mad Dog was naming like 20 players that are better than Jaylen Brown today, and I thought it was just complete bullshit.
It's just
like,
click. It's click.
Yeah, and he sounded serious though. Like, I think he's a Celtics fan.
Yeah, but to be fair, Mad Dog hasn't watched basketball probably since he went off WFA.
Yeah, he's a historian too. He was talking about all these players I never even
Bob
heard of.
Cousy, am I right?
Yeah, like. Anyway, though, I think Jaylen Brown is like one of the better young guys in the league, and I don't think there's much better options for him to go, but I'm more concerned on if he's going to want to come back because he wants that ridiculous amount of number that you stated. And he does have Ime in Houston, and there is some talk about him going there.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would make sense for him winning games, but if he wants to go into a coach that he played a lot better with, then it makes total sense for him.
Yeah, that factors in a lot for players. Like, they want a coach that they're comfortable with. They want as much money as they can get, and those two boxes are checked in Houston. And to your point, also, Ime Udoka is drawing in about 3 assistants from the Boston coaching staff. So A, that tells me Joe Mazzulla's gone.
Yeah.
And B, that tells me there's some noise with that, Jaylen Brown going there. Because I think it's pretty evident that losing Ime Udoka really, really hurt this team. You know, I mean, he was there for a little bit, continuity was there, and then obviously him to go out in that way with that scandal, it can shake a team, it can shake a locker room. And you could see that Joe Mazzulla, I think that sometimes the on-court stuff got a little bit overblown. I don't think he was that bad of a X's and O's coach, but I think it was more the locker room and getting guys to buy in and stuff. I think that was where Mazzulla lacked, where Ime Udoka was really good.
So here's my Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown take, which I guess might be unpopular with you guys. But so this goes back to something that I remember hearing. I think it might have been actually Stephen A. who said this, who I don't usually agree with, but I agree with this take, is that he was saying that you need a big and a small to win a championship. Now, with the way the NBA is now, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think you need 2 stars that are compatible and that are at the same level of talent. And I don't believe that Jaylen Brown is anywhere close to where Jason Tatum is. I remember that there was a poll that I saw from one of the Instagram pages that was like, choose the best 3 players in the playoffs that you think are the best. And I said, and it was between Jimmy Butler, Jason Tatum, and I forget who the third was because I wrote him off immediately. But I had Jason Tatum as my best player. And he balled out the entire playoffs until he got hurt in Game 7. And then when he got hurt, Brown had to take over. And he couldn't. And you saw that in that game. So I think what you have to do is you have to look for someone who is at the same level of talent, because I do not believe that it exists on the Celtics. I believe that Tatum is the main guy there, and that Brown, I don't, and here's the thing, I think Brown is a very good basketball player. I think on a lot of other teams, he could be a great player, or above average, close to great. But the issue is with the way that the Boston Celtics they want to win now. And especially with the way the Heat are. Mm-hmm. Especially, I mean, even the Sixers got them to 7 games. Mm-hmm. They need another player that can help with Tatum.
Yeah.
And I don't believe Brown is that guy.
Okay, I agreed with everything you said, except that Jason Tatum's only bad game was this previous Game 7.
Okay, here's the thing, bad offensively, but he's one of those guys that, even if he doesn't play extremely well, there's other things that he does that can pick up teams. And if he has one other guy who is another as talented as he is, or has that basically that killer instinct that he can pick up at any moment.
Yeah, I do agree with that, but if any other of the first options that were left from the conference finals on, I'm talking about Jimmy Butler, Jokic, Jason Tatum, and LeBron James, if none of those guys decided to score, like you're saying, them doing defense, passing, that's not going to win them the game. Yeah. And saying that with Jason Tatum, I mean, he could get away with it more because I feel like the Celtics are the most well-rounded team of the bunch.
True.
But
True.
You can't give him slack for not scoring when he's the first option.
But here's the thing, Jokic, you for example, right?
Yes.
If he has an off night, Jamal Murray could still go for 20.
Yeah.
And they could still win them a game. Yeah. I don't see if if Tatum doesn't play well, I don't see Brown being able to do it the same way and eking out a win. The same way that I could see that. And that was the same thing with the Lakers. If LeBron wasn't playing well and AD kind of, I feel like has, and that was one of the things that I actually talked to you about specifically, or on the page, was like the Lakers, they could be really good and make it to the playoffs, but AD and LeBron both had to be at 100%. AD wasn't at 100 and they didn't win.
Yeah, because they had no one else besides.
And that was that was what I was saying, that the role players didn't really. Some of them showed up, but like at the end of the day, it was going to come down to LeBron and AD both playing well.
So my last point on Tatum, before you guys either throw out or we move on, Tatum's worst 2 games in this entire Eastern Conference series, the most pivotal games, Game 3 and Game 7, scored 14 points in both.
Yeah.
If he plays a little bit better and they win either of those games, they move on.
Yeah.
Could you look up what Jaylen Brown did in those games?
Yeah, I can do that quickly.
Jaylen Brown had 19 in Game 7.
Okay.
Yeah, so he played.
Horrible
Game
shooting.
7 was not great for anyone.
No.
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown in Game 4
Was 3.
12 points.
Yeah.
So again, but those are the games where you need Tatum to step up.
Yeah.
I agree.
When the whole team is lacking, you need your star player to bring everyone together.
But that's my point. That if you're going to treat Jaylen Brown the same way and you're going to try to pay him that much as well, I don't see that happening. I think you got to pay someone else that can basically pick up if Jason Tatum has an off night. Because I don't see Brown being able to do that. I think Brown, as good of a player as he is, he kind of like gels with everyone around him and kind of feels out how the game's going and can pick up if guys are playing very well, because he's one of those sneaky guys that you might not always think about, but he can have great nights if everyone else, because he can be that second option without a doubt.
Yeah.
But the biggest issue is, can he be that first option if the main star player is not playing well? And I don't necessarily think that's the case at this point in his career.
Yeah, and that's actually like something Harden did well for the Sixers this playoffs, was when
Harden did something well in the playoffs.
Sometimes.
So when we needed that guy, like, I mean, can you imagine what Game 1 and Game 4 would have looked like if Harden didn't step up the way he did? And that series would have been over way quicker, but Harden did what he did. And I mean, he's not going to do that consistently, but at the same time, I feel like Jaylen Brown can do that. Like, I think he can, and he didn't this playoffs, but I still think it's worth the Celtics like giving him the chance. I just think he's that good of a player where he can do that.
Is his contract up this year or
Harden?
No, Brown. I'm not sure, honestly. But like at the same time, I think you need to do it this offseason because you don't want to you don't want him disgruntled going into a season. Like for the Celtics, we've seen it. Everything just needs to be going right for them. Like locker room, on the court, everything included, because like we said, like you said it, and you brought up Denver too. I think Denver and Boston are very similar in the fact that like Tatum's having an off night, Boston has guys that can step up and fill the role. Jokic is having an off night, Denver has plenty of guys who can step up and fill that void. But I think what you're seeing with Denver is like they are mentally more consistent, and Boston just doesn't have the mental fortitude that Denver has. Like you got to give a lot of respect to them. Like Mike Malone does an amazing job. Jokic is probably the best leader in the NBA. Like I think it's him and Butler. And I mean, it's all coming to fruition now.
And that's the one thing. Like that's the one thing that kind of breaks that mold of having like two stars that can carry and mostly go into the championship. But like I know that the Heat do have Adebayo.
Yeah.
But like Butler is the main guy.
Yeah.
And like I've never seen someone consistently, like one guy consistently basically gel all these different players together.
Yeah.
Like Max Strus, right?
Yeah.
Like
Vincent, Martin, like the list goes on and on.
Caleb Martin could have easily won Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
MVP.
He got 3 of those 7 votes, right?
But
the drop off between Jimmy and Bam is like it's really big now. I didn't realize until this series, but like, I know he's not getting much help at center.
Yeah. And like in this day and age in the NBA, it's incredible what Butler's doing because you need like those like incredible superstars really to win now. And Butler he doesn't match up talent wise with a lot of players in the league. Well, the top 10, I'm saying.
Right.
And I put Butler in the top 10 easily. But, when we're talking purely based off skill, the top 10 guys, like Butler just can't really match up with him. He doesn't have great size. He doesn't have great length. It's just all like personal drive, and that's like, it's incredible that he's winning in today's NBA that way.
Well, so this is something that I think, the reason why the Heat are the way they are, if you look at the teams that Butler had early on in his career, and this is what he got a lot of slack for, right, was that he was always trying to drive guys more.
Yeah.
And everyone kind of like pushed that against him.
Yeah, he was called a locker room cancer.
Right.
Like,
That's why he didn't last in Philly for more than a year.
Look at the team that the Heat are on. They all have a chip on their shoulder. Like, I forget what the highest draft pick was of like 70% of their guys.
Oh, the highest draft pick on the Heat?
Yeah.
It's Cody Zeller.
Yeah.
Was number 3.
Right.
Yeah.
Who
doesn't play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you look at the team that they have. All their young guys have chips on their shoulders.
Yeah.
All of them want to learn.
Yeah.
And they want to win.
Yeah.
And they want to do it with the team that they're on. And they don't really care about how they're personified or what happened early on in the career. They just all have that dog.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I've never seen a team basically put together the way that they are.
You're so
like,
right, yeah.
Like, the only team I can compare that to is, like, the bad boy Pistons.
Yeah, I know.
When it comes down to, like, the grit and everyone having basically a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, and, like, that's actually a good comparison because, like, Isaiah Thomas was obviously their first guy, and he was obviously a Hall of Fame player. He was a legend, but he wasn't Larry Bird or Magic Johnson, but that team beat those teams. That team beat those teams twice. They won back-to-back championships. They beat Boston in the Garden plenty of times. Like, they beat Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls. Like, that team was carried by heart and drive. That's exactly what the Miami Heat are, too, because you're right. Like, when Cody Zeller is your highest drafted player, and then after that, it's Adebayo, who, like, could you imagine Adebayo on any other team? Like, people would slander the hell out of that guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a bad center.
No, he's not. He's not.
But he
at all.
definitely
He's not a center to begin with. It's just they're a
that's the
very
thing.
small team.
Yeah, he definitely can. He's definitely, like, if you're right, if he was on any other team, he would kind of just be like one of those guys that's like, why are we really starting him or whatnot? But like if for whatever reason it just works well on the Heat.
Yeah.
It works up to a point.
Yeah.
But it's going to get exposed in this.
Yeah,
series.
we'll see.
Yeah, let's move into that. So obviously, I really want the Heat to win, but I don't.
Do all of us want the Heat to win?
No.
I think so.
No.
I do.
You don't want the Heat to win?
No.
Okay. All right.
Nuggets.
All right, we'll get to you in a second, but I want it to be really close, but I do not see a Game 7 in the series. I think a Game 6 is very unlikely. I think
Really?
Okay.
it will be Nuggets in 5.
Wow.
However, like you guys, we were talking about Bam. Like, how is he going to guard Nikola Jokic?
Oh, no. He's
like-
a great defender. Bam is a great defender.
Okay, yeah,
But
he is.
It's about...
That was what we said about AD.
Yeah,
he was
no,
an
yeah.
above average defender too, and Jokic made him look like a scrum.
But that's the thing, like...
Yeah, but what did Anthony Davis do when he went to the finals against Bam Adebayo? No one could box him out, and it was a really...
Yeah, no, I understand that.
The series stretched, but it wasn't close at all. Like, you know who was winning.
Yeah,
like,
rebound.
off the game
Yeah,
too.
rebounding is gonna change the series in a big way. But you rebound as a team. Like, you can't just rely on Bam to move Jokic out of the paint. Like, you need to rebound as a team. You need to have all 5 guys in on defensive rebounds. But
The Nuggets are so much bigger, though. That's the thing.
I don't think it's that. I don't think the size discrepancy is that terrible, though. And, like, here's the other thing: the best rebounder in NBA history is Charles Barkley, and Charles Barkley was like 6'5" his whole career. And Charles Barkley always said it's not really about boxing out; it's about want and feel. Like, you have to anticipate where the ball is going to go, and you just got to go want that thing more than the other guy. But to your point about AD and the Lakers, what Denver does so well with Jokic is Jokic will get the ball in the post and he doesn't get tunnel vision. Like, he's not, I'm only looking to score, and once my scoring angle is cut off, then I'm passing. Like, that's Embiid. Embiid gets the ball in the post, tunnel vision. I'm either scoring this or then I will pass. And that's like, you can say blame a lot of people for that. It's on Embiid, it's on Glenn Rivers, it's on the guys around him that don't move. They stand on the 3-point line. It's a joke.
Are we talking about the losers right now? When there's
Stop. But what Denver does so well with Jokic is he gets the ball in the post and he immediately faces the basket and looks to pass. Immediately. And everyone around that team is moving around. So I don't think it's on one guy necessarily to defend this team. Like I think Adebayo is a good matchup for Jokic because he is relentless. He brings a lot of energy. I think that can throw a guy like Jokic off his game, but at the same time, that won't single-handedly stop them. Like you need the other 4 guys to keep their heads on. You have to be talking at all times because they're cutting and screening like no other team. And you have to be ready for anything because they break down the kitchen sink against everyone and they do it really well. I think Denver has the best offense in the league.
Oh yeah, easily.
Like no question. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, like we were talking about, this is driving heart. I'm picking Miami to win the series. I think it's going to a 7th game. I'm picking Miami. I like them too much. I like them too much. And again, this is not taking away from Denver. I just think for each team Miami has played this playoffs, except for the Knicks, I was like, this is where they'll run out of steam. Like I can see this 5 or 6 games. And it just hasn't happened. And I'm going into the series like Denver should win this in 5 or 6 games. Like they definitely should. I just don't think they will.
So here's the thing about the Heat, in my opinion. I thought they were going to lose to the Bucks.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Kind of thought they were going to be the Knicks. When it got to the Celtics game and that series, I thought the Heat had a much better chance than everyone gave them because how badly the Celtics played against the Sixers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There is no reason that should have gone to a Game 7. And the Celtics let the Sixers get back in that series multiple times.
Yeah.
And I figured with the way that Miami's been playing, there's a chance that they'll get off to a hot start and control the series, which is exactly what they did.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is, with this Nuggets team, they've got heart, they've got drive, they got passion.
Yeah.
The same thing we say about the Heat. The biggest difference is they have much better players.
Yeah, that is true.
Jamal Murray, you don't think that he has a lot of drive and grit and all this passion about missing the last 2 years and everyone's saying, oh, he's not worth keeping around and you might as well cut your losses with him. Mm-hmm. And now he's come back and shown exactly why everyone believed in him into the 2020 bubble.
Yeah, right.
You don't think that this entire team felt like they were disrespected in the bubble after coming back down 3-1 against the Clippers, and everyone basically said, oh, this is a one run, like they're done, and then Jokic got clowned on for losing early in the last 2 playoffs?
Yeah.
This team has the same thing that we say about the Heat. We just don't consider it the same way because they were 1 seed instead of an 8.
Yeah, that's
which is the biggest difference, that they have more talent.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand why you think the Heat are going to win. Why do you want the Nuggets to win?
What do you mean, why?
I understand why you think the Nuggets are going to win. Why do you want them to win?
Because of everything I said. Because of the fact that they've never won a championship before. They've never been to a championship before. The fact that Jokic consistently throughout the entire year was told that he cannot step up to the same level as Embiid. Mm-hmm. And proved that he was the better player.
That's a really low benchmark if you're talking about the postseason, honestly. Damn.
Well, I mean, the thing is that Jokic had the lead for a while. It's just nobody wanted him to win 3 MVPs in a row.
No, like, I'm saying, like, if you say that he can't step up to what Embiid has done in the postseason.
Well, I'm saying he did step up.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Embiid will never do what Jokic did in the postseason.
But nobody thought nobody thought that this was going to happen.
Because he had always been kind of the same thing as Embiid. They both had very early exits after having great regular seasons. Everyone just
and came up short.
Yeah,
both of them.
Like everyone. I think a lot of people, especially after this year and the way the Sixers played. I know the Nuggets were the first seed, but I think there were still thoughts in the back of the head that are people's heads where it's like, this is the same Nuggets team that's existed the last 2 years. But the Sixers added a few more pieces. Maybe they'll get over the hump before the Nuggets do. And to Jokic's credit, as well as the rest of the Nuggets, they completely shut down any kind of second guesses about that.
And it wasn't Jokic. Like I said last week, who was the biggest piece that was missing on this Nuggets team the last 2 years?
Jamal Murray.
Exactly. So they finally got him back. And I will, because of everything that's happened to Jamal Murray, that's another reason I want them to win. I just love this Nuggets team so much.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the fact that this is what I thought the Sixers team was going to be. Mm-hmm. The fact that you have a star center and all these great shooters around them. This is what I was hoping the Sixers would get when they added all these pieces. And now the Nuggets are basically the Sixers of the West, just a lot better with a much talented center.
I completely agree with that. This is the Nuggets right now are what I've wanted the Sixers to be for so long, where you can just get Embiid the ball and then someone sends a double and he just kicks it out to a guy who can bang from 3. The Nuggets have shooters all over.
Caldwell Pope's probably the most underrated signing of the entire free agency. What he's done in the postseason.
Dude, he shoots the lights out, and you can go through a lot of teams but the Sixers especially, they don't shoot the 3 well enough. And I know they made, it was incredibly surprising to me, but they were the top 3-point shooting team this year. And then you hit the playoffs and guys get cold. Guys just come down to earth, I think. And
No, only guys on the Sixers do because they don't know how to win.
Well, hey, let's not totally just act like the Celtics didn't just
Okay, they've been to a
And
finals.
Milwaukee-
Though. They've been to a finals.
You need to win a finals first.
I think Milwaukee might be the biggest letdown though. Let's be real.
Yeah.
like, are you?
They
It's
won
not
a
even
championship,
close.
though.
Jack, they just got bounced in
They
5
did,
games
but-
by an 8 seed. I'm done. I'm not
They
talking
won
about
a
it. Stop.
championship.
We do know that the 8
Oh
seed
my
is in
God.
the
Oh my
championship, to be clear, but
Yeah.
still, like getting bounced by an 8 seed is the number 1 seed. The
In
way
5
that
games. They didn't put up a
handled.
fight.
Okay, Giannis was not 100%.
No,
in
he
that
wasn't.
series.
And I
That's
I
still,
completely
like,
And
understand
Middleton
that.
was
Wait,
missing.
neither was Embiid. We didn't give him any
Yeah.
credit for that.
Yeah, and you sit here and just shit on him. Like, I'm done. I'm not talking about you. Like, I'm done. But
Anyway, though, let's also remember that the Nuggets were able to fleece Orlando and get Aaron Gordon as well.
for what? What did they give up for that?
Oh, it was
Wasn't
Gary Harris.
Yeah, Gary Harris.
Yeah.
Like, dude. Oh.
Like, and I think he was
He's
averaging
perfect
like,
for him.
and no one's been talking about him because of everyone else on the Nuggets, but I think
Yeah.
he was averaging like 15, 16 points a game.
And it's the
that's
rebounding,
with
too.
Jokic at the low block as
Yeah,
well.
uh-huh.
Like having two guys as talented as both of them are at the low block,
Yeah.
and then just surround them with shooters and just be like, all right, just let us get the rebounds and you can do everything else is scary.
Yeah, it feels like everyone on this Nuggets team like fits their role perfectly. You know, you have Michael Porter Jr., who is like you don't really ask him to pass that much. Like
No.
I think everyone clowns on him for like the assist
everyone has
things.
seen the videos
But like,
on
dude,
Instagram.
that's what they ask him to do. Is like, dude, you get the ball, shoot it. Like
Yeah.
they want him
He
to do
either
that.
shoots or goes into low block and just
Yeah.
makes an easy dunk. The biggest reason why I think I love this Nuggets team, they're the most fun team to watch in the NBA.
Yeah, I completely
And I want
agree. They're
them to
really.
win because of the most fun
This
team
is
in the NBA.
this is going to be a extremely entertaining
And
finals.
by the
Like
way,
all these people saying like this is not going to be a good final.
Yeah.
Like
Who's
oh
saying
the
that?
A
like
lot of people-
Celtics fans. It's
Here's
Celtics
what it is.
fans.
It's
Well,
Celtics
they're
fans.
racist.
They are, dude. They are.
Boston.
No, look at Kendrick Perkins.
Yeah, Like, dude, that's such a joke. This,
No, here's who it is. It's either people that are Celtics or Lakers fans, or it's the people that like are ESPN bots.
Yeah.
That are talking about only ratings.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I don't want to watch the Lakers and Celtics play for the umpteenth
yeah,
time in the
and
finals.
actually,
Yeah.
another point, like, I have to applaud Sixers fans because the general consensus for like the entire Embiid versus Jokic thing was like, dude, Sixers fans would never give Jokic credit, and we were always sitting
I
here like,
still don't give him that much credit. I know how good
he's,
he is.
dude, he's the best player.
No, Caleb.
He's the best player.
Caleb.
He's the best player.
I
Caleb.
understand it. It's just one of those things that I will never be able to accept.
I mean,
It's
Caleb,
just one that I can't
Caleb.
let it go.
I always did.
What?
Jokic is a winner.
Oh, I
Embiid
know.
is a loser
I know.
in the
No,
playoffs.
trust me. I wish that I could accept that, but in my soul, I will never be able to accept that.
He is.
That he.
You
that,
got, but I
I
like
think
back
it's
to my
just the
point.
fact- hang on. I think
Yeah.
it's just the fact that in the last two playoffs, just the amount, and I know I'm being
Yeah.
lines as well, but just the way that like the Nuggets lost and Jokic was whining each time, I was
Yeah.
like, I love this. Give me more of this.
Yeah.
And now that it's finally not happening, I'm like, I know I have to admit
Yeah.
he's the best center.
Yeah.
Like obviously he's the best
He's the
center.
best.
I'm never
He's
going-
the best player.
Like, oh
He's
yeah,
the best player
no,
in the league.
easily.
Yeah.
However, will I ever say that in public if anyone asks me? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
You know what? I am sorry. I've been giving Embiid a little too much. James Harden should be banned from ever playing in the playoffs again.
Yeah,
You're
I
just
mean,
not gonna let this go.
No,
Harden was
every
horrible.
team he goes to, he's a common denominator. He chokes.
Yeah.
He's a disgrace to the playoffs. I'm serious.
Well, let's just be happy that no team decided to hire D'Antoni yet after that terrible game that the
Sixers,
Rockets
well,
had
oh
against-
no, the Sixers are talking to him, but,
Yeah, but I'm
we
saying
actually
nobody did it.
No.
yet.
No, the Sixers should be
Whatever
hit with so
team-
much tampering with all the Rockets guys they got.
Well,
It's
I
insane.
don't even. I'm not even
They
talking about
got
the Sixers.
3 Rockets players, and Danwell House never played. Dude. Like you're sitting here like, oh, it's the Philadelphia Rockets.
It is.
It's not. It's not. We got PJ Tucker and James Harden. It's worse than the Rockets.
Draft pick after getting PJ Tucker.
Yeah.
which
Was
is,
it his first round or second round though? At least
it was a first round.
Yeah, we lost our first round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but it's not even talking about the Sixers. Just overall, I'm glad nobody hired D'Antoni yet because whatever team
Yeah.
just do it's just a problem. But Jack, back to your point.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So like, I have to applaud Sixers fans because like I said, they would never give Jokic credit, and now it's like you can kind of come back to earth and like Denver's a really good team. Like, Jokic is a really good player. And Sixers fans aren't, like, we're not sitting here crying, oh, I'm not watching the finals. It's going to be so boring. But, like, these Celtics and Lakers fans controlling NBA Twitter, like, whining and moaning that this is going to be a boring final series, you're objectively wrong. Objectively wrong. How is Denver not fun to watch? And how is any Jimmy Butler-led team ever not fun to watch? Like, this is going to be an insane finals matchup. I think this is going to be one of the best finals matchups we've seen possibly since the Cavs came back from 3-1.
In all honesty, like, because I remember when the Bucks and the Suns made, and everyone was like, that's going to be very exciting because it's the first time that, like, two teams that were not the Warriors or the Cavaliers were in the finals. I think this one's going to be way more exciting. This one's going to blow that out of the water.
I think that one actually was a letdown.
It was. I feel like it was too. Yeah. Like, it was supposed to be very exciting, and it kind of just was like, okay, it happened.
It was
like,
okay.
It was not bad.
It was a little bit forgetful.
It was cool to see Giannis win a championship.
Yeah.
But this one's like two teams that have, like, they've been so close each time, and it just fell short.
Yeah.
And now you're finally getting to see Jokic in a championship. You're finally getting to see Jamal Murray in a championship. You're finally getting to see, like, Jimmy Butler with, I think, a much better team than 2020 back in the playoffs. And you get to see all these, like, guys that are, a lot of them are basically guys that, like, regional, like, I guess regionally you might know.
Yeah.
Like, I know quite a couple of the guys from the Heat. We don't really, at least for me, I don't watch that many Denver games. So, like, it's going to be awesome to finally see guys who maybe are very well known at a regional level finally get to go to that national stage and become very prominent players.
Yeah, and, like, this, I know the Heat are, like kind of when you look at the Heat logo, you think of those LeBron days and stuff, but, like, this just feels so much different. Like, this even feels more different than when Wade went in 06, and, like, I remember watching that one. I mean, I was only, like, 5 years old, but, like, you're sitting there and Wade is going off for, like, 35 every single night. I think he averaged 36 in that finals. Like,
crazy like that,
it was crazy. And this team even feels different than that one, because those teams were, you know, top dogs. And they were sort of expected, but this Heat team has just clawed every single inch to get here. Same with Denver. And, like, this is just going to be, I think this is a finals matchup for the ages. Like, I think we're going to look back at this finals in 20 years and be like, those 7 games were incredible to watch. Because I truly believe this is going 7 games. I truly, truly believe that.
You see, I'm not going to buy in too much to people saying this is going to be a boring finals. Like, there was a poll over at Twitter, and, like, 70% of the accounts aren't even real
looking
people.
At Twitter?
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't have the app on my phone, but the NBA Twitter is such a toxic space, and, like, 70% of the accounts aren't real people.
I was about to say, are you sure you're just describing the NBA? Or
No. But, yeah, it's bullshit. Like, no real person is saying that actually watches basketball.
No, if you have conversations with any person, they're still very excited for this playoffs. That's why usually when it comes to polls and social media, usually I just try to avoid that, because you're always going to see the absolute worst takes.
Yeah.
They're funny, for sure, but I always take anything that I see like that with a grain of salt.
And everything's taken to the extreme. Like, you can see with this Jaylen Brown stuff, like, people are making the China jokes. It's like,
I mean, it's...
You can't really take it seriously, but it's kind of ridiculous.
Let's just say this. Let's see what happens. Let's see the ratings, and then we'll compare it.
Yeah.
And we can move into the Q&A segment. So I got 2 questions from Joe. One of them is, do you believe the Sixers need a player like Jalen Brunson to win a championship? And I believe yes, because he is a winner, and he on two different teams, he's been that guy in the playoffs, and that's not something we see from current Sixers. They all choke in the playoffs.
Dude, I love
You need
Brunson.
more. Like, I love
No,
Brunson.
you need more, but that's a very big step
like,
in the right
him
direction.
in Harden's spot, I would love
Yeah.
that.
To be fair,
Actually. I would
if
actually
you
love
Ken
that.
Mikal Bridges, I think that would have also helped a lot.
Yeah.
But that's another.
We could go. The list goes on.
He's also a winner.
Yeah. Mikal? Yeah.
He's also
And they come
a
from a
winner.
winning college basketball program. That's why they're winners. I love Brunson. I think Brunson has come into his own. I think he's solidified himself as a top 10 point guard.
I think he's top 5 almost.
He's knocking on the door for sure. He's knocking on the door. And I think that he's only going to get better. I don't think for a guy like him, I don't think there's much you can do to game plan around him. Like, I think for a lot of young guys who sort of break out like that, teams end up kind of watching their tape and making game plans for him that work and kind of holding him in check. I don't think that you can do that for a guy like Brunson. He's very shifty, and his size is short. He's short in stature, obviously, but he's also great at shooting over guys taller than him. He's great in the mid-range, which is something that's not really the case for a lot of guys his size. And yeah, I think him and Harden spot would be way better because he's more consistent. Harden put up those 40-point playoff games. Like, Brunson can do that, and he can also give you 30 the other games and not 10 and 12 and 9.
And he's
you know what
also
I mean?
not a disgrace to the playoffs. He is.
He's not, Jack.
He
He's
is.
not a disgrace to the playoffs.
He is.
Jack, there is, of all active players, there is one with more 30-point playoff games than James Harden. Can you name him for me?
30
Can you name that guy for me, please?
No, probably LeBron. Michael
It's
Jordan,
LeBron James.
Okay. All right, but there's 30 guys that I would rather pick to take a game-winning shot.
No,
in the
I'm
playoffs
cool
over
with you
Harden.
saying that he's a playoff underperformer or choker. I'm cool
He's a
with that.
disgrace.
He's not a disgrace.
He is.
He's not.
Do you want him on your team in the playoffs? Answer me that.
I don't want him on my team right
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
In
You
general.
never
No,
want him on your
right
team.
now.
He's the
Right
main
now,
reason
no.
why the Sixers were the 3rd seed in the
Yeah,
East.
right now,
agree.
right now,
He's
no,
not-
I don't want him on
understand.
my team.
Yeah,
But
yeah, thank you.
in
Yeah, I
2018,
understand that.
when he's averaging 35 a game at 50, 40, 90 splits, yes, I want him on my
Okay,
team.
didn't they
Yes,
miss like
I want him in the
27 threes,
playoffs.
though, when it mattered most?
They did, right? Not
Yeah.
Harden, right?
And Harden missed like what? Probably 9.
I don't know, but it's one game, Jack. It's one game.
It's
I don't
the
know
most
what.
important game.
Jack, it's one game, dude.
Most
It's one game.
Why was
game.
Anthony Melton the one taking
Yeah.
like 3-corner threes
Yes.
from like Curry range?
Dude, there was that stretch in the third,
Yes.
like where it's
Oh.
Melton 3, Melton 3, House 3, Melton 3. Like what is
in-
that?
In like 6 minutes in the fourth
Yeah.
quarter, it was like Embiid drive turnover, and then it's like you said, Melton
Yeah.
3, House
Wait.
3, Melton 3. Like what are we
Yeah.
doing right
Yeah.
now?
You watched the fourth quarter of that game?
No.
it wasn't the
No.
7th quarter. No, it was game 6.
Oh,
That
yeah.
one
okay.
where they
Yeah.
had the lead.
Yeah, right,
and
right,
then
right.
lost it because Tatum
Okay.
went off, and then the Sixers felt like they had to
Yeah.
answer back. I mean, that's what I was talking
Yeah,
about.
and it was the same. It actually happened in Game 7 too.
seven as
Like
well.
when it was just
Yeah.
Celtics 3, 3, 3, 3,
And
3,
the Sixers
3,
felt like
3,
they
3,
had
and we
it's
come
like,
down
what are
melting
you
this,
doing
melting this,
with
melting
these
this.
guys? I mean,
Yeah.
that was just poor rotational stuff, but also just poor decision by the players. And that wasn't really James Harden's fault. Now, Harden didn't really step up at all either, but it's not like that he was the only guy that let
Yeah.
the team down.
Yeah,
Okay, and Joe had one last question. What do I do if I get morning wood?
Joe.
Why did you ask that?
He's the only person that
Get
gave me
yourself-
questions.
We're going to cut this out.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
Oh, I gotta. If you're having problems with that, man,
Deal with that yourself.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you can either deal with it yourself or get a girlfriend. I mean,
No, no. If it's in the morning, you gotta tuck it because it will ruin the rest of your day. It'll ruin the rest of your day if you don't.
bro.
I'm being serious. If you ever do it first thing in the morning, the rest of your day sucks.
Yeah,
You're not productive. You won't get anything done.
yeah. Why? I thought this was a sports podcast.
I said you can ask anything and we'll
That's
answer.
true.
it.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
We're now
Definitely true.
therapy sessions
Yeah.
as well. Call.
Yeah.
All right, Caleb, it's your turn. You gotta
Yeah.
ask us any sort of questions.
Oh,
Doesn't
trust
have.
me.
It could be about Morningwood too.
No, I have some. I actually have a couple of sports questions that I thought would be interesting. I mean, so the first one was, if you could go to any sport event in the world, what would you go to and why?
Oh man,
That's a really good question.
Oh man, fuck.
I mean, World Cup is definitely up there because, like, it's more about the cultural connection that, like, everyone is coming in throughout the whole entire world. But I don't want to choose that one. I want to choose a different one.
I think I got mine.
All right.
Rugby World Cup final, for sure.
Okay.
Obviously a different type of World Cup, but I love rugby. The finals are just amazing. Preferably it would be if England was in the final, but we'll see if that happens this year. But when the World Cup does come to the United States, if I can get to that, that would just be amazing.
See, for me, like, especially after being in Spain, going to the Champions Cup final with two clubs is fantastic, because the thing is, like, I understand how football, soccer is perceived in the U.S. It's a whole other level when you're actually experiencing it. The amount, like, I don't know if you know what the fans are called, like ultras. They're crazy.
Yeah.
And it's just the atmosphere around every game is like, it's a do or die situation. So to be in a championship final between two clubs from two different cities would just be, the atmosphere would be ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree with that.
For me, this is not that special, but probably a Premier League, like I want to see Liverpool play, or maybe even the World Cup. The next one's going to be in the U.S., so we're lucky. I'm definitely going to go to one of the games.
I think we're all trying to go to that.
Yeah.
Actually.
The one in Philly for sure.
So I'm going to go off the beaten path here. A Final Four. I think that a Final Four is a really, but like not really a Final Four like we just had, where it was kind of like teams that weren't like. I'm talking. I want 4 blue bloods, and I want the arena to be sold out to the tippity top, and I want a moment like 2016 national championship where Jenkins hit that 3 at the buzzer, like something like that. I think that's like unmatched, at least in American sports. And then number 2, SEC football game. I think I just want to go to one so bad. I think like every single atmosphere down there is crazy, and like you were saying, like soccer just means more in like all over the world, all over, not just Spain.
Football would be either that LSU,
I
Georgia,
feel like Bama
Tennessee
football would have been great a couple years ago, but like they're just so used to winning all the time that the atmosphere isn't the same.
I kind of agree with that. That's why I think Tennessee right now.
So-
Yeah, I would love to go
back
to
to-
Tennessee
yeah.
for a
Here's the
lot
thing,
of
though.
reasons.
I agree with you, but because the expectations are so high, every game kind of feels like a do or die. Where it's like, if they don't win, it's like, oh, well, now what do we do? Next? Like, it's like, oh, the season's over. Now we can just, like, now we have to wait till next year. And we have to wait for all these recruits. And it's the same thing. Like, once you get to that level of expectation of winning, your fans, like, yes, they somewhat become complicit, but they also become almost, like, deranged.
Yeah,
it's like, winning just becomes fuel.
Yeah, and like to your point too, like think about how many teams in college football would kill for a 2-loss season, and then think about an Alabama Crimson Tide 2-loss season. Like they're panicking.
What did Tennessee have? Like 3 losses?
3, I think.
Everyone was celebrating.
Yeah, they had a great year. Yeah, because they have been shit for like 20 years. Yeah.
All right, so I know that like mostly this podcast is like talked about like football, basketball, and whatever. But like, what's one sport, if you could, like that you would really want to just focus on that wouldn't be like a main sport that you'd watch?
Tennis. I love tennis though. I pay a lot of attention to tennis. I watch the finals. I just think tennis is so entertaining. I think it gets a lot of flack that is undeserved. Like, I mean, those people are like some of the most incredible athletes ever. You know, think about returning a serve. You know, it's coming at you at like 100 miles an hour. You got to hit it right back to them. And then they're going to put it in the complete opposite corner. So you have to sprint the whole way. But as you're sprinting over, they could hit it to the corner you were just in. So you got to stop and go back to that. So like, I love watching tennis. And I think tennis and golf are the 2 sports that I love, but they just get flack for no reason, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think golf, the reason, I think that would be the sport. Like, I mean, I watch a couple of the tournaments here and there. Mm-hmm. Like, if I could have, like, weekends off or, like, 4 days off, I would watch every golf tournament.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those sports that's, like, it's just so fascinating to watch because there's so many different, it's the hardest individual sport, I think, that exists. And and the reason it's so hard is it's not because you're competing with anyone else. You're competing, like, it's literally the only sport where you're really competing with yourself to make sure that you're 100% every time you're swinging, every time you're putting.
That's so true.
Like I'm trying to get into golf a little bit more, and like I've talked to people who like play golf, and like I ask what they get like when they play like 18 holes, and they're like, I don't know, usually around like 120ish or whatever.
Yeah, 120
and,
is
like,
a good round.
That's fantastic if you're not a pro player. Yeah. Like to get a 72 is hard enough. To get under 20, like under 20 par is.
It's insane. It's unheard of.
And I think like that's one of the things, like when you watch golf, you're kind of just like, oh, they're just consistent every time. But then once you actually try to like swing a golf club, you're like, this is much harder than I thought it would ever be.
And actually, like for the average guy, when you step up to the tee, like you're just like, I want to hit it good. I don't care where it goes. And like you don't know where it's going. You don't care. You just want to hit it flush and good. But like those guys can literally be like, all right, I'm going to put this down the left side of the fairway, hit that hill, roll it down a little bit on the fairway. I'm like, are you serious? And they step up, boom, right there. It's right there. They know exactly where to put it. Like it's incredible. Like to control a ball like that. I mean, it's unheard of. I love watching golf.
For me, I'm going to have to go UFC. So I really don't get the chance to watch most of the fight nights because they're on Saturdays and I normally work on Saturdays and I don't have the money to drop on like every single UFC match. Yeah. But I'm hesitant to get into the UFC because I feel like if I get into it, every ball sport would just get boring to me. Because like the thrill is just nothing compared to like what they do. So I would definitely do contact sport or combat sports because it's just awesome. Like you literally see people that like make hockey players look like ballerinas.
Yeah,
like, it's there's nothing like it.
Yeah, and those people are like completely delusional. Like I don't understand why you would want to like step in a ring and just wail at this guy while he's wailing at you. But like at the same time, it's so entertaining and there's so much thought, skill, and processing that goes into each match. And those guys are incredible athletes. I mean, it's incredible. Like dodging a punch while throwing a punch that has to like connect hard enough to do something to the other guy. Like, I mean, UFC is a great pick. Boxing too. Like boxing all kind of falls into that.
For those guys, like the mindset has to be every time you get in the ring that I am the baddest motherfucker that exists on the planet. And every one of them thinks the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Like, to get in that mindset, you have to be, like, just... I don't even understand, like, the science behind what that takes.
Yeah.
To just have that much confidence every time you're fighting.
Yeah.
But it's just something that, like, it's so fantastic to watch.
Yeah.
Anytime, and it doesn't matter who it is. Like, I don't really care that much about, like, obviously, like, when McGregor was at his greatest, like, I loved watching it. But, I didn't watch it that much before that. But, like, all the fights before that, I was like, these are awesome.
Yeah,
like,
right.
any of them are just, like, at any moment, you're just like, what's going to happen next?
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter who it is, because every fight is, like, so great.
Yeah, that's true. And, like, the other thing, like, what you were saying, so I'm, like, probably the most casual UFC fan, boxing fan you'd ever meet. Like, I follow, like, the people and who wins and stuff, but I'm not, like, that's the only thing that turns me away from that is you ask me to pay to watch it. Like, I'm not doing that.
No, and
I wouldn't even do that if the NFL did that. No. If you're paying me, asking me to pay each game, like, no. I'll just watch the highlights.
Yeah, that's actually something that we could talk about a little bit.
But like, they also they need to do that because like the fighters get paid a lot per fight, and like you won't make enough strictly off of tickets and like the commissions from cable networks. Like you just won't make enough.
No, I understand it.
Yeah, I understand it.
But like the MLS moving to Apple TV makes no sense to me. Most games in Europe are on like streaming services as well. Like it's very hard to watch like national games. And here's the thing. I understand the idea behind trying to monetize it, but especially if you're trying to grow a sport.
Right.
It's backwards.
All you're doing, like build up a giant fan base for, I mean, obviously Premier League in the US or in the UK is different. Yeah. Because the fan base is already there. And also most fans of those teams, like they want to go to the games every Saturday or whatever. But like at least soccer here is not that popular. You're not building a fan base. And like there's a lot of sports like that I feel like are trying to monetize too quickly instead of like slowly build up a fan base.
Yeah.
And then monetize if you need to.
Because like that's the thing. Like I refuse to believe that there aren't soccer fans in the United States. Like I grew up with a ton of people who played soccer and like soccer, and I still know a lot of people who like soccer. Like the MLS just is not a great league, like in terms of growing it, you know, because and it's tough. Like you have to in America, like you have to compete with the national leagues, like, or the international leagues, I should say. Oh yeah, you have to because it's popular here. Like everyone watches that, and it's like it's hard. And when the LA Galaxy got who was that?
Chicharito.
No, Zlatovic or something.
What was that Zlatovic?
Yeah. Like, I thought that was going to do, like, really well for the MLS, like, bringing in an international star who already made a name for himself and then bringing him to Los Angeles. Yeah. Like, I thought it was going to be really good for the league. It just didn't really move the needle that much. So, like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but, like, Messi is, like,
there's talks about him
coming to
Miami.
I mean, there's talks with him going to Saudi or back to Barca first. So we'll see what happens.
And listen, I've heard from some completely biased news outlets that Messi has considered the Philadelphia Union. Yeah, and if they did, I would buy season tickets.
He's gonna get on an airplane, get there, and be like, "No, never coming back here."
Yeah, playing at Subaru Park where there was just a murder outside of it, like last weekend. Yeah, no.
But I think the problem with soccer is, and I think it will never be successful in America because Americans can't understand the fact that like all the best athletes don't play in the same league.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it will in every American sport. Like all the best hockey players are in the NHL, all the best basketball players play for the NBA. Football, the NFL is the only place you can get football, really.
Yeah.
And all the other ones are in America.
Don't be in the Canadian Football League. there's the Ring of Football
USFL.
in China.
Yeah, but like Americans will never understand that like 5 guys are in Spain, 5 guys are in England, 5 guys are in France. Like it'll never work in America, and we just gotta like accept that. But you can grow it to a certain point, but it'll never be like one of the major sports here.
Yeah, I just I don't understand why the MLS does worse than the NHL, you know. I just, even with how much the NHL has tailed off in the last like 15 years or so.
Well, and this is actually another complaint that I have a lot about a lot of sports that are kind of like fringe popular sports.
Yeah.
And again, as someone who plays rugby and wants to grow the sport, and this is the same with the NHL and also the MLS as well, to an extent, stop trying to be niche sports.
Yeah.
It's not good. Like the gatekeeping that exists for a lot of sports where it's just like not the popular ones where it's like, oh, you don't follow all of this? Well, then you're not a real fan or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not helping. Like, if you want to grow a sport, include as many people as you can.
Right.
Get them to like it. And then that'll help grow the popularity in each country. Because it's not just about like, yeah, I mean, obviously we're focused on like American sports because we're all from America. But it's like, we could grow sports to be a global level. Like, we saw what the World Baseball Classic was like.
Yeah,
and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Now imagine if we could grow that to more sports and do something that's comparable to like the Soccer World Cup where it's like 32 teams and it's a month in like December or something, or like December through January.
And I think rugby is a great sport to bring up too because like rugby, I feel like the nature of it just fits an American sports fan.
Oh yeah,
like, I just like it's tough, hard-nosed, tons of contact,
a lot of drinking.
Right, yeah. And very entertaining, and like the fans are like really rowdy and very into the game. Like
they're
baseball
rowdy,
is kind of a game where
respectful. It's one of those weird things that it's like it is very American where it's like you hate everyone for 80 minutes and then right after you go out and you get a drink.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, I will say there has been a lot of good signs for rugby, like San Diego Legion, who's part of the Major League Rugby, had 11,000 people show up to their game to open the season, which is the most for an MLR game ever. Both San Diego has a high group of people go to games.
Yeah.
Seattle has sold out consistently since they've been there.
Isn't Kansas City or Chicago have one?
Chicago just got a team that's doing pretty well, considering that they have one win? No win?
They have one
They have
win.
one win, but they still had like 4,000 people show up to every game.
Yeah, like that's
which is amazing, all things considered.
Yeah.
So rugby has shown some growth, so I am more hopeful for it than a lot of other sports, and hopefully can get to the point where the MLS is, where they're selling out 70,000 people.
Yeah, right.
Like I said, you just gotta stop being niche.
Yeah.
Just try to like be like, hey, this is going on. Let's get everyone to like this sport. And I mean, hockey's the same way. I feel like hockey's kind of become the sport where it's like boxed out. For whatever reason, I don't really understand why.
Neither do I, yeah.
But it's become one of those sports that, like, it was very popular. And I mean, it's still popular in quite a bit of places, but, like, it might have to do with the fact that the NHL's kind of, like, moved away from, like, being on other, like, on cable TV as well.
Yeah.
But it's just, like, you're not helping the sport. Like, I love watching hockey. Like, the Flyers suck, but, like...
It's so tough to watch.
But, like, it's still a fun sport to watch, but it's just like it's just not. It doesn't have the same feel that I think it even did like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I agree. And like hockey, for me at least, and I think that a lot of people can relate to this because again, I'm a very casual hockey fan. But for me, like I only watch regular season if the Flyers are good, really, and then like the playoffs hit and I'm watching the playoffs. Like I'm keeping very close with the playoffs because I still believe to this day NHL playoffs #1, MLB playoffs #2, and I think that what the NHL was doing, like I think moving off of ESPN hurt them like a while ago. Like that was, and there was some like shady stuff. I don't remember what it was, but I think it was ESPN was like really shady with it, and they kind of like screwed over the NHL. Like,
yeah,
I forget.
There was like a contract dispute that they had.
Yeah.
And they sort of just didn't really negotiate that. Fairly.
Yeah.
I feel like, and the NHL is always, even when ESPN wasn't showing games, the NHL was always pushing for more highlights and stuff, and basically said that there wasn't enough done by ESPN to promote the sport.
Yeah, and
I feel like ever since the strike, the amount of popularity in hockey is kind of just like disappeared, and it sucks because there's a lot of great new teams that like they've expanded relatively well.
Yeah,
the Kraken and the Golden Knights are two teams that were expansion teams that are both
immediate
really,
success.
Yeah, and it's just like it's one of the sports that's like I said, like I remember watching the Vancouver Canucks championship. I forget who they played. Who was
2011?
Bruins, yeah,
I remember that. Yeah,
like that was a fantastic playoff run.
Yeah,
and like. I just don't. It's just hard to have the same feeling. I think after, like, I don't know what it was that, like I said, I don't know what occurred with hockey, but it just became one of those very fringe sports where it's like, yeah, it's still sort of popular, but it's not. It doesn't have
where
the
it
same
should be pretty much. Like I think it should be way more popular.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So to quickly answer the question, because I realized I didn't get to it yet, the sport that I would love to talk about is NASCAR. I love NASCAR.
I thought you were gonna say rugby.
What's that?
I thought you were gonna say rugby.
No,
it's any sport that you don't follow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it would be NASCAR. I try to follow as much. Again, I also work on weekends, and it's sort of weird because rugby's on Sundays. Usually baseball's on Sundays. NFL is on some Sundays, but not really too much with NASCAR early in the season. But I'll always watch Daytona.
Yeah.
I'm a big 23XI fan because of Michael Jordan. Yeah. So very big into Bubba Wallace, very big into Gibbs, who just also joined with Toyota. Trying to remember some of the other. Tyler Reddick is also part of 23XI, so I'm really big into those guys. Denny Hamlin, who's invested in them, so really big into that. Brad Keselowski, Polish.
Yeah,
so,
I love Brad Keselowski.
He's awesome.
My favorite.
Every press conference he has is just fantastic.
The atmosphere there is really growing on me. Cool. I feel like redneck people know how to have fun.
That's so true.
I need to go to the Poconos at some point.
Pocono Raceway is really cool. Yeah,
it's one of my favorite race courses to watch. Daytona is also really cool. And the other thing that's cool, I'll definitely make sure to be able to watch the race in Chicago. The city race will be really fun. The street racing that they've added into it, to me, has added a totally different dynamic. And for the people that say these guys aren't athletes, their heartbeat is going 145 to 150 per minute.
Yeah, right.
Like, it's almost above what some athletes are when they're flying.
Also, the reaction time you have to have.
Yeah, here's another thing, dude. If you're sitting on a highway driving your little mom SUV that's going 90 miles per hour and it's shaking a little bit and you got two hands gripping it tight, right? Now, double that. Right. 180, 200, then tell me they're not an athlete.
20, wait, what is it, like 30 other cars?
Yeah, right. Yeah. And, you go, if you've ever been to Daytona, it's my dad's a NASCAR guy, so I've always grown up watching NASCAR. Don't follow it too closely, but I watch it. I watch a race a week. Yeah. I think weekly when they have that Sunday race, I'm watching that definitely. And he's been to Daytona a couple times, and if you can buy a pass where you walk on the track, dude, you can't walk up the turns. No. It's impossible. Yeah. It's so the incline is so steep, you can't do it. So imagine 200. Yeah. And that's it's the what do they call it? There's some plate that's under the track that makes them go faster and allows them to kind of turn into their turns at the speed they're going. Oh, really? So they're literally going 200 miles an hour turning on this incline that is that. It's insane.
Yeah, and the fact that these guys don't crash in the walls.
Yeah. Every single time. Yeah.
Insane. And I know some people will watch just for crashes, and there's been a couple of races that people say are really boring because there's not a whole lot that changes at the end of the race. But what they do to fight for positioning at the end of the different stages that they have now, especially in the race, those last 20 laps at the end of stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 are so intense because you're just fighting for that positioning. Yeah. And everyone's trying to work together because there's certain, like I said, there's certain teams that you have. So you're working with your teammate while at the same time also trying to individually win the race, which could create for interesting dynamics. Yeah. That's actually what happened to Brad Keselowski in one race. Yeah. He got into it. One of his teammates was pushing him and he lost control and ended up losing the race.
Yeah, I was mad.
Yeah.
I'll also say this. I feel like the presentation that Fox does for NASCAR.
It's really good.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's so good. Like the amount. I don't watch it that much, but the races that I was able to watch in the fall, at least, they were the presentation. Like you said, the presentation that they had, and the way that they are able now with the technology that exists to really go and like view every part of the race course.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it so much easier to really understand like how hard the sport actually is.
Yeah.
Well, I think bringing in a lot of former racers as well. Jeff Gordon's done a really good job in the press box.
Yeah.
I forget there's a couple other guys that are going to be retiring that will be going up there. So I just feel like they've done a really good job making it not just a niche sport, which is what I feel like you guys talked about.
No, it's growing
hockey.
It's growing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that because of that growth, brings in more fans. Like the LA race, I think has been huge for the popularity of the sport.
But that's the thing that I was talking about with community. Like NASCAR, I feel like overall is very much more accepting about bringing more people in. For example, like the race at the Coliseum, the race in downtown Chicago. They're trying to do more to really incorporate like different parts of the country that wouldn't really see NASCAR.
Right, and that's like the really cool thing about NASCAR, I think, is like they have racetracks and courses in like the most random places ever, like Pocono, Watkins Glen. You know, these are places that are just like off the beaten path.
Probably the craziest one.
Yeah,
it's
right.
Like literally on the border of North Carolina and Tennessee, and that track is just insane.
Yeah, and even speaking of Tennessee, Bristol, because like that's not even the third biggest city in Tennessee, and it's there. But like for them to like grow their sport, they need to hit some major cities. LA obviously is going to be the one. Chicago is a huge market. So like I think the NASCAR is making like very smart, inclined decisions on how to grow their sport, because racing of any kind is fun to watch. In my opinion.
I do want to watch some more F1.
Yeah, F1 is like really fun.
Especially Monaco.
Dude,
I've never watched it, but I do. That's one sport that if I'm able to go to, I would go to Monaco to watch F1.
And they're even going faster than NASCAR.
Because I've heard that's just incredible.
It's insane, yeah. And that like they do stuff all over the world with that too. That stuff is cool. I mean, and the Indy 500 is like the one, obviously, but you could, I think every weekend, Sunday afternoon, you could flip through the channels and find F1 something.
Absolutely.
F1 is fun to watch.
And Caleb, do you have any more like one sentence, one word questions that you want to get out of us?
Not really. I think we did a good job.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll go into NBA Finals coverage next episode, and you'll see it next Saturday. Peace.